Today is a very momentous occasion, ladies and gentlemen, and because this is very much part and parcel of the initiative that was undertaken, in particular after the formulation of the 2013 Constitution, in which for the first time in Fiji's history you had the rights of persons with disabilities actually specifically enshrined within the Bill of Rights provision in the Constitution. No other Fijian constitution has ever had such a provision. And of course, as you know, as has been highlighted by the Supervisor of Elections, the Fijian Constitution has also been translated into the Braille language, not just Braille English, but also Braille Itauke. And we are hoping to have a Braille Hindi one done too. So all of this has been part and parcel of government's commitment to ensure that persons with disabilities do not get left out of mainstream society. There is, of course, no doubt there is a lot of work that needs to be done, whether it's in terms of accessibility to buildings, in terms of accessibility to mainstream education. And of course, one of the reasons why we're here today is, of course, your ability to be able to vote in election time. Fiji has a very high rate of voter turnout. In the last elections, 84% of the people who were registered to vote actually turned up to vote. Just to put into perspective, I know many people are talking about the American elections. On average, the American elections have a voter turnout of about 51, 53% over the past few years. And that, of course, is nowhere near to 84%. One of the other remarkable things of the elections held in 2014 is that the percentage of invalid votes was 0.7% only, compared to about 9.4% in 2006, a remarkable feat. And this is obviously all the good work of the Fijian Elections Office, and in particular the Supervisor of Elections. As he has highlighted, the MOG report, the Multinational Observer Group report on the Fijian elections in 2014, did highlight the fact that a number of changes had been made to allow persons with disabilities to vote. As you know, that persons with disabilities, of course, do not necessarily have to go to the polling station physically. You have the provision of postal ballots. We also have provisions where people can have the ballot box taken to them, specifically where there may not be, for example, a ramp to the actual polling room itself. So the polling booth can be taken down to the car or to the bottom of the steps. Of course, we need to always ensure that improvements do take place. And the reason why we have this signing or ceremony here this afternoon is that the various organizations that represent and deal with persons with disabilities will have a direct input, and therefore a practical input as to how the Fijian Elections Office can actually improve their services to be able to ensure that all persons with disabilities actually do get to vote and do not find it a chore, do not find it a task. So this is very, very important and very much part and parcel of government's policy to ensure that we have an inclusive society, not just in terms of socioeconomic participation, which, as you know, for the first time has been enshrined again in the Constitution, but also in terms of political participation. And as was highlighted earlier on, for the first time in Fiji's history, we have a person with disability who is not only in Parliament, but also is an assistant minister. So that is, of course, a remarkable feat that has taken place in a very short period of time. We hope that all of you will work together and collaborate with the Supervisor of Elections Office, because at the end of the day, the Fijian Elections Office is here to ensure that all of your rights as far as voting is concerned is actually realized. We also look forward to them and you working with other development partners, whether they're international partners or even local partners, to ensure that all persons with disabilities actually have an input in policy formulation. This is why I think it is very, very important that you have the agreement that you have signed today, in fact, translated into the Braille language too, because that's a practical way of showing that there is actually a commitment to the various tools and instruments that persons with disability actually use, and most people who are not disabled don't actually think about. And this is one way of, again, mainstreaming. And we hope to also, as you know, for the first time in the budget announcement this year, we had, I think, this wonderful lady together with people from her team who were translating the budget delivery in the sign language. That has never been done before. So similarly, we want you to be able to know and be able to understand how government money is spent, how the budget is spent, where the allocation is going. Which brings home to the point, and the last point I'd like to make, is that government has, of course, as you know, this year allocated unprecedented funding directly to the various NGOs that deal with persons with disabilities. It's now increased to $1.6 million. We also have, on top of that, the setting up of a disability center in the Western Division, which so far has not had one. And we are looking forward to that disability center being completed. And just yesterday we had discussions with the Minister for Women, Children and Poverty Alleviation as to how we'll fulfill the mechanics of it. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to once again acknowledge all of your participation, in particular the various organizations, for your contribution and your willingness to participate in the signing ceremony. I'd like to thank all the other partners, and in particular also I'd like to publicly acknowledge the extremely hard work and the energy and the creativity that the Supervisor of Elections has actually brought to the Fijian Elections Office. I think we should put our hands together for him. He's done a wonderful job, and I'd like to acknowledge that. But thank you once again for your presence. I'd like to thank you, everybody here who is here, and we look forward to hearing from you. As you know, the bill regarding person with disability bill is before Parliament, before the committee. Also regarding the CRPD, the convention, I understand the committee has already approved it. It's yet to be presented to Parliament, and we look forward to the ratification of the CRPD. Which will help not just government, but also ensure that the right amount of resources is directed in this area to ensure that we have more inclusivity and more participation of all Fijians. And I wish you a good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your address. Honorable Attorney General.